For the last 17 years, I've done breathwork 20 minutes every single day without fail. And every single time, it's a completely different experience.
You know how doctors can interfere with the healing process? Because when my kids were little, they would get hurt. It wouldn't be serious. And I'm like, it's a good thing your body knows exactly what to do. I think sometimes there's a lot of good doctors out there. I hope, some people at some points in their lives consider me to be helpful and good doctor. But I think that a lot of medicine is interfering with the process. I think that sometimes an antidepressant is absolutely what is needed. But I think that also sometimes an antidepressant is numbing somebody from having the full experience and the ability to move through their grief. Welcome, everybody, to a very special show today where we're going to be speaking with Samantha Skelly, who, for lack of a better term, is a master of breathwork, amongst many other things. So, Samantha, before we dive into your superpowers, why don't you share with us a little bit about what brought you to being in the space of breathwork and presence and energy and helping so many people through this powerful thing?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to add as much value as I possibly can to your audience in the next little while. I stumbled across breathwork. I really feel like breathwork found me at the exact right time. I grew up as a child actress. I was a dancer for many, many years, and I was in entertainment when I was a young kid. I was a stunt double on Smallville for a little while, and my entire life was either on a stage in front of a camera, and that was amazing. It was so fun. And I developed a really unhealthy relationship to food in my body at 18. I was developing patterns of disordered eating and chronic anxiety and body image issues and body dysmorphia and the whole thing. And I had tried so many different modalities, talk therapy, regular therapy, cognitive behavior change, so many workshops and conferences and all sorts of things to try and heal myself. And what I was realizing is it was changing my mind, but it wasn't changing my body. And all of our beliefs live in the body. They're manifested in the body. And so I remember reading the book, Eat, Pray, Love, and she talked about going to Bali, finding this medicine man. And something in me was like, that's what you should go do. So I did that. I followed that path. On that journey, I found breathwork, and I realized, holy moly, with breathwork, we have the ability to actually heal and release a lot of we call it at Pause, the emotional constipation that we are all walking around with. And we don't have to do it through thinking. I think that's where personal development gets a little bit twisted, is we're always thinking about how to feel better and strategizing how to feel better and controlling our environment to feel better, when really, if we want to feel better, we have to be better feelers. We have to actually get into the body and release the trauma, the stuck energy, the density at a cellular level. And breath is the catalyst to get us out of our mind and into the body so that we can actually begin to do that. And so after I found breathwork, I healed my eating disorder within 3 months and began to just feel alive. Like I had this sense of aliveness and vitality and energy and just power. And I was like, how does the whole world not know we can do this? And so 8 years after finding breathwork, I was a student of breathwork for 8 years. I had no intentions of actually facilitating it, teaching it, and then creating this academy. But after 8 years, I got a little knock on my intuition that was like, you need to teach the world to breathe. Let's go. So it's been a beautiful journey since then.
Wow, I didn't know that. So we have a similar background. I danced professionally in a ballet company.
Are you serious?
Yeah, for many years in school. I actually started studying. I left home at 15 and started studying in the professional program with Pacific Northwest Ballet. And I studied in China with the National Beijing Ballet Company and in Eugene. Yeah, so.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I wonder if our paths ever crossed. Pacific Northwest. So where was that? Oh, Seattle.
Yeah, just here. But interesting, when you wear tight tutus And when you're supposed to have, your abdomen flat and tight, and then when a partner grabs you to lift you up, everything has to be like a bone corset. And so that breath work is something that, I just spent years learning how not to do it.
Yeah, totally.
Well,
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and then you use the word academy very fleetingly, but I wanted to point this out, that what drew me to you, many things, but one of the things is that you're actually research-based. This isn't, not to say that the religious and the yogis and the deep, long traditions of breath work don't have validity. They do. But I love that the science is catching up and verifying it. So tell us a little bit about the science part of breath work that you stumbled upon and brought into your practice and your teaching and your programs.
Yeah, we're really at the intersection of science and spirituality. We're really trying to blend those, because I think the spiritual community is like, breathwork's amazing and it works and it's so great and oh my gosh, energy. And then the rest of the world is like, okay, but like how? Right?
And I think all the time. So really, do I really need to do this?
Totally. And that's honestly, like, when I found breathwork 17 years ago, I looked at, like, I saw the class on the community board and I was like, breathwork, I can do that. I know what that is. It's fine. I've been breathing for 21 years, whatever. I got this. And then I realized after I had a session, like, oh, I had no idea what I was talking about. Like, there's breathing and then there's breathwork, and continual conscious breathwork for the purpose of transformation and healing is very different than just mindlessly breathing. So we started off years ago with just like sharing breathwork from a spiritual, personal development lens. And then as we got deeper into it, there was a lot of science that was emerging around the physical benefits, the emotional benefits, the mental benefits, and a lot of what we do centers around the nervous system. And so the nervous system is our primary operating system for how we view the world and how we operate in the world. And if our nervous system is dysregulated and it constantly in a sympathetic charge, like stuck in a sympathetic charge, we're going to view the world as scary and uncertain. And it's almost like we have this feeling like we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Well, if we train our nervous system to operate in the parasympathetic nervous system, which we can absolutely train that through the breath, then the lens in which we look out into the world is safety, peace, contentment, joy, right? Which is how we should be living. We should only really use our sympathetic nervous system when we're actually in danger. But the problem in our world, and especially with social media and all, like how fast our world is it's triggering the sympathetic nervous system all day long to say, you're not safe, you're not safe, you're not safe, you're not safe, you're not safe. And so we're just living there. And so as we breathe, and we let that exhale be longer than the inhale, we stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. And what we're doing is we're mitigating the response of the amygdala. So the amygdala is our center for emotional control. It's also where all of our survival strategies are. So when we mitigate the response of it and we quiet it down, it kind of moves into the background, and then we can actually get deeper into our bodies and deeper into our feeling bodies, our emotional bodies, our intuitive bodies. And it allows us to really begin to unearth and heal and let go a lot of the trauma that lives in our body, a lot of the density that lives in our body, so that we can have deeper emotional regulation.
And people don't understand that your nervous system actually dictates things like your blood glucose. Like, there's so much, everybody's wearing a CGM and they're like, I'm eating well. Why is my cortisol high? And I'm like, because you're stressed. Because cortisol is telling your body, oh my gosh, there's danger. We have to flood the body with sugar so that we can run away from the bear. But the problem is there's no bear, and there's the perception of the bear that's there all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
The traffic, the emails, the boss, the kids, the dinner, on and on and on and on. And what I find fascinating is that it's just this domino effect that then affects your sleep, and then that affects what you eat, and then that affects how you interact, and it affects your relationships and your connections and your sense of happiness.
Yeah.
And I think that the other thing about breath work is I like to compare it to meditation, except because they're under your control and you don't have to, have a pill, potion or lotion or, injection or anything. And it's so immediate. That's the difference. Meditation kind of takes time. At first, you suck. And you feel worse because you feel like, oh, I've got ADD and I can't sit here. But breath work can actually make an instantaneous, within a couple of minutes, change in the hormones that are being coursed through your body. And you mentioned the parasympathetic nervous system. It's interesting. People think that their parasympathetic nervous system is turned on just because they're not doing something. But I'm sure what you've learned and what I've learned is that you actually have to turn it on.
Yeah. It's an engine.
Do something intentional.
Yeah.
So some of the things that you find people why do people come to you? What are they experiencing in their life where they finally feel like breath work might be a solution?
Honestly, if I was to just name an overarching reason why people come to us, it's burnout. It's a big one, right? And so if we look at the layers of burnout, we are mentally burnt out, we're emotionally burnt out, we're physically burnt out, and we're spiritually burnt out, right? And so breath work, the beautiful thing about breath work is it's a perfect antidote to burnout because it has an impact and it's the remedy to all of those things, right? It helps us go from survival strategy into clear mind, right? So if we look at the mental quadrant, if we look at it as like a quadrant, on the mental, it goes from survival strategy, which is when we're stuck in our survival strategies, it's like all we see is red, right? All we see is danger. All we see is like life's so crazy. Like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. Well, when we use breath work and we clear that, we can move from the fear mind to the clear mind. And then on the emotional side, the world is emotionally constipated, right? We're so overwhelmed. It's like we have such a backlog of events and situations and impact on our nervous system that is creating so much emotional chaos. Well, when we use breath work in an intentional way and we begin to clear out some of that energy, we go from emotional constipation to just liberation, like emotional freedom. And then physically, breathwork is this is the one that I think shocks most people of how breathwork physically changes the body. It gets into the places where we have holding patterns, we have contractions, where we're tensing, we're bracing, and it helps release and alleviate that fascia intensity so that we can actually release our body pain. And then spiritually as well, I think a lot of the world is spiritually burnt out. They don't have connection to the earth, to each other, to God, to life force, to universe. And breathwork helps us remember, we are so deeply connected.
And life is so magical.
It gets to be, yeah. I mean, we're commanding reality with our energy, breath by breath, moment by moment. So if we do the work internally, we're going to create that externally. We are a hologram. We are just a gigantic hologram.
So there's so many layers to breath work. I'm sure you're familiar with James Nestor's book, Breath. And that was, if I had to say, what's the take home message, that is like, don't be a mouth breather. There's a lot more to it, but so there's that, just becoming aware of the difference between breathing through your mouth and breathing through your nose. But in your work, breath work uses everything. It's not just don't breathe through your mouth. Can you dissect the different ways that breath work can be used? Because some people think that all breath work is to slow down your breathing, breathe in through your nose, exhale slowly through your mouth, and that's breath work. But there's so many techniques. Is that a good
Yeah,
word? I mean,
definitely.
there's breath work for asthma that can actually overcome asthma attacks. There's breath work for anxiety. There's breath work for sleepiness. So why don't you dissect a couple of strategies and just give our audience a little bit of a behind the curtain view of what's possible?
Yeah. So there's two categories that we teach at Pause. One is breath work for relaxation, and then breath work for transformation. So breath work for relaxation is really using breath work to really activate the parasympathetic nervous system, to get out of our minds into the body, to release the chargy anxiety, chaos that we have. If someone is highly dysregulated, they have a lot of anxiety, they're up in their heads a lot, doing breath work in like a is actually going to further irritate those symptoms, and it's not going to be as advantageous for that particular person. So if someone is feeling anxiety or like an overstimulation in their sympathetic nervous system, we have to do like a down regulating breath. So and under 8 minutes is basically the threshold. So we don't want to go over 8 minutes. If we go over 8 minutes, then we're going to go into more of like an altered state of consciousness. So if someone's using breath work for relaxation, nice, deep, slow breaths, making sure the exhale is longer than the inhale and keep it under 8 minutes. That will keep you in that zone of just relaxation. Then there's breath work for transformation. Whereas if your nervous system is feeling regulated, if you are feeling safe in your body, then you can do some of the more intense breath work, which is designed for just more like awakening work. So really getting out of our minds, really releasing trauma, really getting to like the deeper layers of what is blocking us, what is holding us back, whether it's in relationship, business, whatever it is. And this is where it gets really fun and interesting. But if someone is coming in really dysregulated, they have to start in that first zone first and just really give their body like the foundational safety that is required in order to hold increased amount of energy. And then once they have that somatic safety in their body, then they can move into zone 2 and start to do some of the more energetic breath work. So that's breath work for transformation.
I would imagine you have more than a few people, especially I can think of some, maybe a lot of our listeners, they're really committed to upgrading their biology. They work hard at their life, their work, their families, their health, their relationships. And they're like, there's a little bit of an addiction to cortisol.
Yeah, totally.
And I would imagine that the relaxation breath work might feel like a little bit of a Debbie Downer. How do you support people through that? Is it through education? Is there a different hormone that they're feeling that makes it feel safe and good, even though it's not their usual cortisol high?
Yeah, what I say to people, I mean, for the last 17 years, I've done breathwork 20 minutes every single day without fail. And every single time, it's a completely different experience. There's times where, like the other day, I was having like some neck pain. And so I just lie down on my mat and I just breathe with the intention to release the neck pain. And that session was not emotional at all. It was purely just physical. And it was beautiful. And after I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better after that. And then there's other sessions where maybe I'm experiencing something like lack of connection or scarcity or fear around something. And I'll go into the session and I'll really set that as the intention. And then it'll be very emotional, right? Where I'm processing like a lot of emotion. Then other times it's not physical or emotional. It's just very spiritual. I just feel very connected and it feels very light, not emotional at all. So every single breath session is completely different. And what I always say is, don't be attached. Just let the body do exactly what it needs to do. You are the drug. And we have this inner pharmacy of intelligence locked in our body that gets unlocked when we use our breath. And so we have to trust that the body knows exactly what to do because it does.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I've never heard anyone say that. I always say that our thoughts, you know how doctors can like interfere with the healing process.
Mm.
Because when my kids were little, they would get hurt. It wouldn't be serious. And I'm like, it's a good thing your body knows exactly what to do.
Yes.
And
oh, I love that.
I think sometimes there's a lot of good doctors out there. I hope, some people at some points in their lives consider me to be helpful and good doctor. But I think that a lot of medicine is interfering with the process. I think that sometimes an antidepressant is absolutely what is needed. But I think that also sometimes an antidepressant is numbing somebody from having the full experience and the ability to move through their grief. So I feel like our thoughts are the doctor, and they're writing prescriptions randomly based on what they think is needed, which may or may not be the actual best thing for healing. And then our pituitary in our brain is the pharmacist. Pharmacists do not rewrite prescriptions and say, oh, no, you don't need that. You actually don't need Ambien for sleeping. How about some bioidentical progesterone? They don't. They just fulfill the prescription that the doctor has written. And so then all these chemicals flow through your entire body that are dispensed from our pharmacist, which is your pituitary. Yeah. But what you're saying is that we can interrupt the doctor, the thoughts, and allow the body to heal by unlocking the pharmacy without the doctor's prescription. I feel like maybe that's using whole food, comparison to just the natural way of things. I love that way of looking at things. Speaking of chemicals and hormones, what are some of the biologic outcomes that happen in breathwork by using breathwork intentionally? What's going on biologically?
Well, I always say that belief is a biological advantage, right? Our belief is a biological advantage, meaning our fascia, our cells are eavesdropping on our thoughts, breath by breath, moment by moment, right? And so if we can learn how to use the breath to intentionally wire our thoughts to thrive, not just survive, then what we're actually doing is we're changing the beliefs that live in the body. And when we change the beliefs that live in the body, what we're doing is then we're sending out a signal to the universe, and we're just manifesting more of what we desire, right? That is how we attract things in our life, right? And so from a biological perspective, we are a walking science experiment 24/7. And so
whether you like it or not.
Yeah. And so we have to take inventory of what we are co-creating every single day. And an exercise that I love to do is like really looking at the vision of what I want for my life and asking myself the question, am I thinking thoughts that are congruent with this future vision? Am I feeling feelings that are congruent with this future vision? Am I behaving in a way that is congruent with this future vision? And if not, then it's time to do some upgrades, right? It's time to do some identity upgrades, some belief upgrades. There's a great framework called BITFAR, beliefs, thoughts, feelings, actions, results, right? So everything starts with a belief. And it's not just the belief that lives in our brain, it's the belief that lives in our body. So whatever we think, whatever we believe, that will activate our thoughts, right? So if we believe I am worthy, then our thoughts are going to be, of course you should go write that book. Of course, go start that podcast. Of course, go do this thing. Of course, right? It's going to be empowering beliefs. When we have those thoughts activate feelings of just freedom in the body and confidence. And then when we have that, our actions and results are going to be mirroring that. But if the core beliefs that we have in our body are negative, the core beliefs are, you can't do that. You're not good enough. You're not worthy. No one in your family did that. Why should you do that? Then again, it's going to move in the opposite direction. And so we have to be on guard of our thoughts, on guard of our beliefs. And we have to constantly come back to that realization of, am I actually choosing thoughts that are congruent with the future that I desire to cultivate? And if not, we got to switch it up.
And you can switch it up quickly with consistent breath work. Have you ever read the book, The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton?
I have not.
Okay. You need to read it.
Is that a good one? I'll throw it in the Amazon cart.
Dr. Bruce Lipton was one of the very first stem cell researchers in the United States. He taught at medical school. And what he did is he took identical cultures of stem cells, which can become anything. And he's like, okay, then they need to become the same thing. And what he found is that identical stem cell cultures became very different things depending on the environment in which they were surrounded by. So your thoughts, your feelings create that milieu around your stem cells, literally changing your biology. And he found that the stem cells sometimes made bone, sometimes made cartilage. I mean, it's a beautiful read and steeped in science. So it's very in alignment with what you're talking about.
So it's so interesting. And I think for a lot of listeners, they need the scientific reasons for them to believe the spiritual stuff, right? Like we talked about.
Yes, I'm guilty of that.
That's great.
I was like, well, I don't know, this meditation, this breath work stuff. I don't know. Like I breathe all the time and et cetera, et cetera. But, Dr. Andrew Huberman with the physiologic sigh and the breath work of that and the non-deep sleep. And yes, all the things. And I'm like,
so
there we go. There's the pathway. And so for me, I think that's my safety route.
Yeah.
But not everybody needs that same path to feel safety. Exactly. And so how do you hold space? Do you do virtual classes? Do you recorded classes? Do you in-person classes? Because I would imagine that, especially for your transformation classes, feeling safe is like the first and foremost, most important thing in order to get anything any further.
Yeah. So we have an experience called the breathing room where every single Tuesday at 11 o'clock, leaders, light workers, practitioners, entrepreneurs, CEOs, just a bunch of amazing people who are in helping professions and otherwise come together to breathe and release and get into their body and regulate their nervous system and optimize their performance. And so that is where, and I run that every single Tuesday live. I really believe in the age of AI with, technology increasing, like it's our time to double down on humans and live experiences. So it's like, we're all just like really craving that. So that's called the breathing room, Tuesdays at 11. And then from there, people realize the power of breathwork and realize how incredible it is. And then they become breathwork facilitators. So that's like our core academy that we run is a 6-month breathwork facilitator journey, which trains people to become breathwork facilitators. And so again, it's a really beautiful blend of neuroscience and spirituality, really centering the nervous system and really teaching people how to work with the body, not against it. It's breathwork for healing and awakening simultaneously.
So who is breathwork? Let me rephrase that. So the person that is a doubter, because, I've been talking about breathwork with my patients for a couple of years, and there's such resistance. And to be really honest, I have no idea how to. I don't want to push. I want to invite. I want them to be curious. I want them to lean in, and I want them to benefit from this powerful technique that I feel can really change their bodies more than any prescription I could ever write them. But I don't know how. What would you tell the person that's a doubter?
You can't deny the experience. So just do it.
Try one.
You know what I mean? It's like, I have taught breathwork to murderers in maximum security prisons who've all cried their eyes out, and just been like, oh my gosh, I had no idea I could do that. I've taught breathwork to billionaires in boardrooms. I've taught breathwork to literally homeless people on the street. And it's like, if you have a set of lungs, this is effective and it is powerful. Just get over it. Get over yourself. Don't doubt it. Like, that's what I say. I was like, get over it. Do you want to feel like crap for the rest of your life, or do you want something that allows you to heal your pain? You know what I mean?
What have you got to lose?
That's what I mean. Like, give it 3 minutes. It's not like you have to commit an entire day to it. Give it 3 minutes of continual conscious breath work and just see what your body's capable of.
Do you have a source where people can go? Because I think it's like meditation. Even if somebody is open to it, they're so overwhelmed with, all these different, and then the first thing you bump into is Wim Hof. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that and then go in like an ice bath. That's not what I'm do in my life. So where is a good place for people to put their toe in the water? And the beautiful thing is that they might feel a transformation in a small way just from one experience.
We have built a beautiful, extremely user-friendly app called Pause Breathwork. You can get it on iOS and Android. Pause, P-A-U-S-E. Yeah.
Breathwork.
You can get it on Android, iOS. There's a free 14-day trial. If you go to pausebreathwork.com, you'll be able to find it, or just search Pause Breathwork in the App Store. It's a little orange emblem. You'll be able to see it. It's hard to miss.
We'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah. So there's a free 14-day trial, and there's breathwork sessions that are 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 25 minutes, 45 minutes, and they're all based on outcomes. So as I mentioned earlier, there's different breathwork techniques for different outcomes, right? If you're feeling anxious versus if you're feeling like you want to relax or whatever it is. And so you choose the outcome that you desire and the time that you have, and the track will be available for you. And it's very intentional. The music is absolutely gorgeous. It's incredible how quickly you can transform in such a small amount of time.
That's the part about breathwork that I think is unlike any other technique to upgrade your biology. It takes, your cells live for about 3 months. So if you're going to change your nutrition, or if you're going to change your supplements, or even a prescription, unless you're having like an opioid that's going to get metabolized and knock you out, it takes time. But breathwork, there's a pretty quick turnaround within minutes. And there's so few things that allow people to be the CEO of their own life, their own health.
Yeah. It's like don't say, oh, it's a bad day, because you can change that in 3 minutes. It's like if I'm stuck in an energy that's less than ideal, I don't drag it on. I short circuit it through breath work, and I change my state. I change my biology. I get back into my body. I shift my thoughts, and I carry on with my day. It's very easy to do.
The awareness, I think, that comes with that. So I would imagine, and this is a question, that when you start to do breath work intentionally as a practice, is the side effect that you become more aware of how you're breathing at other parts of the day?
I think so. Yeah. Let me think about that. Yeah. Like even when I'm not in breathwork sessions, I'm aware of how I'm breathing. And the moment I'm aware of how I'm breathing, I change the way I'm breathing. Right. And because I'm clear that the quality of my breath is directly related to the quality of my life. So if I am breathing to survive, meaning not being intentional,
barely survive.
Taking chest breaths, then I am going to live it's like if my breath is shallow, I'm going to live shallowly. But if I am breathing to thrive, I'm taking intentional deep breaths. I'm rewiring my nervous system. I'm adding more energy into my body. Then I am shifting the way that I breathe. I'm shifting my biology, and then I'm shifting the way that I live, right? It's so much comes down to the breath.
And just to dive a little bit deeper on that comment, you're putting more energy into your body, into your biology. That's actually really profound. Like you can change your body temperature. You can increase your body temperature, which takes a lot of ATP. It takes a lot of energy. So how the heck does that happen? Do we know?
I don't know the research on that, and I'm excited to learn about that, but you feel it right away. Within 3 minutes, you're like, whoa, I am so energized right now. It's like as we breathe, we're really like increasing the health of our mitochondria, right? We're increasing like the little energy centers. We're adding more oxygen. There you go. That's it, right? It's like we're adding more oxygen, we're adding more energy. So our overall energetic baseline is increasing because we're intentionally adding more energy.
Well, and utilizing it, because you can add more energy, for example, calories, and not use it, and then you just get fat.
No one wants that.
Yeah, exactly. I find it. And then another question that comes to me is, when you're breathing, sometimes we're breathing the way we're breathing because of posture. And so, you know, we're in cars and screens and phones and computers. And so our breathing structure is getting more and more constricted. You know, we were talking about me dancing in a ballet company. I was constricted. Toes are really tight. So do you find that the posture changes as you're breathing, as at like little fingers from the inside? Or do you help people stretch so that they can breathe, or both? So how is posture and breath related?
As we begin to reteach our body how to breathe correctly, we are reawakening muscles that we don't use, right? So it's like the lower belly, right? When we really breathe into our mouth and puff up this lower belly, it's going to feel tight at first, right? People are like, oh, that feels weird. But the more we do it, the more we stretch it out, the more it becomes second nature, right? And then when we open up the chest, again, that's going to feel a little stretchy at first. The muscles have to like really open up and increase the capacity as our lung capacity increases. But the more we do it, it's just like working out a muscle. So at first, the capacity for adding in energy is going to be like 10%, and then 20, 30, and then it's going to grow as literally our muscles begin to grow around it. So at first it's going to be a little bit harder. And then I always teach, like, when we breathe, to really breathe into our central channel. So it's the beam of energy that runs from the top of our head all the way down into our root. And so we want to make sure when we're breathing that we're like, our posture is nice and tall. Because if we're bent over, the energy is going to get stuck. The oxygen is going to get stuck. So if we open up, then we're directing the energy through the entire central channel.
Well, for those of you that aren't watching and are just listening to this, I'm just like looking at your rib cage. It's just expanding in all directions beautifully, easily. And then down, it's like bellows, right? And that bellows, you know, there's so much power there. Then that's the energy that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Is there anything, as we come to the end of our time together, that you'd like to share with our listeners that you may not have touched on that you think is important about breath work?
I think sometimes people can get intimidated by breath work because it is work. You know, it's like, it's so funny. Like, everyone's like, oh, I have such resistance to doing it. But as soon as I do it, I realize how amazing it is. If you are brand new to breathwork, start with just 3 minutes a day. Like, get onto the app and go 3 minutes a day. Don't push it. And just begin to feel what 3 minutes a day can do for your life. You're going to notice your anxiety is lower. Your nervous system is more regulated. Your intuition is turned on. Your thoughts are not as abrasive. And then begin to just work up from there, and just go slow with yourself and trust that you are your own authority. So even on the app, as I'm cueing you and walking you through it, if my breath is too fast, slow it right down. Intensity does not equal transformation. Okay. So just really allow yourself to listen to your body, listen to your breath, listen to how your energy wants to move, and just trust yourself. It's not a race. We just have to work with our body, not against it.
Well, and I would encourage everybody to share Pause Breathwork app. We're going to have it in the show notes, because health is contagious. We always talk
I love
about,
that.
viruses and bacteria and all this is contagious, but health is contagious. And please pass it on, share, and send this episode and the app to those that you love. And what a beautiful time of year through the holidays to be using 2 or 3 minutes to change your state, because sometimes the holidays can be stressful. And how amazing that you don't have to turn to a glass of wine to calm your nervous system down.
Absolutely. Just start doing breath work at the dinner table,
Oh, you know what? I think that breath work before eating should be people's grace. Because it actually helps our body go, we're going to eat.
Yes.
Thanks for the heads up. Okay, I'm ready now.
Yes.
So, well, thank you so much for sharing your brilliance. It was wonderful to have you. And everybody, have a beautiful day. Like, follow, and share. Health can be contagious.